we get an even number. And then think about what you know about odd and even numbers. If I add 1 to an even number, I'm going to get an odd number. So then you just need to write, therefore, 2n squared plus 2n plus 1 must be odd. All you need to do.
Okay, 21. So what you've got is an area question, but rather than just simply with the numbers for your side lengths, they've given it with a little bit of algebra, but you approach it in exactly the same way. So we've got the diagram shows a six-sided shape. All the corners are right angles, all the measurements are given in centimetres. Okay. It's then giving you a variety of information about the different sides. And then what we've got is the area of the shape is 85 centimetres squared. Now we've got to show that bit of algebra. What that essentially means is you've got to come up with that, okay, using the principles of how we work out an area. Now, if that was written with just numbers, the way you would normally approach that area is by splitting it into two separate areas. So splitting it into two separate rectangles and approaching it that way. Okay, so if we just look at rectangle 1, okay, then the area of rectangle 1 would just be the length times width. So the length being 3x and then the width being the 2x minus 7. So I'm trying to do that 3x times 2x minus 7, which is essentially this little expression, 3x, and then with a bracket to represent the multiply, 2x minus 7. So there's my length times width. Now what that gives us as part of our answer then, just expand that separate bracket. So 3x times 2x, 3 times 2 would give us 6, x times x gets you the x squared. Okay, and that's where part of this 9x squared is going to come from. We've then got the 3x times the minus 7. So 3x times minus 7 would be minus and 21x. Okay, that's part of it. We just do exactly the same for rectangle 2. So again, length times width. Okay, length we've got 3x plus 4. Width, we've got just a single x. So if I write that as the multiplication, I've got x times 3x plus 4. Okay. Again, it's a single bracket, so we expand that. X times 3x. Again, x times x is x squared, so this is 3x squared. And then x times 4 gives us 4x. Okay, so there's my second part of my algebra for the second rectangle. We want to know the area, or not, we don't want to know, we're being told the area is 85. So if you add up your two areas, you know that they add up to 85, or you know that they equal 85. So the way we would construct this little finishing part would be rewrite your first bit, 6x squared minus 21x, it's my first area, added to my second area, 3x squared plus 4x, must equal the 85 that it tells me. So that's me generating the equation. Now I should be able to just tidy this, and it should get back to what the question has asked. So you've got the 6x squared, add another 3x squared. Well, there's my 9x squared. Okay. And I've got minus 21x, add 4x. So don't forget, minus 21, add 4, takes you back to minus 17x. But that's equal to 85. Okay, now have a look at what they've got and have a look at what we've got. The only thing that's different, they've got their 85 on the other side of the equals. So the way you do that is just take 85 away from both sides. And so finishing up over here, you'd have 9x squared minus 17x minus the 85. And because we've taken that 85 away, that's where you get your equals 0. So we don't have anything left on that right-hand side. So it's you coming up with that particular equation. But even if you can't get that far, it's 3 marks. Splitting it into 2 areas, having a go at one of those areas. If you get just one of those brackets right, you will get one of the marks. Probably the second bracket, the second mark. So even parts of these questions are very good for building up your points. Part B is then solve this equation, okay? It's the same one. Solve this equation. Give your solutions correct to 3 significant figures. Now, if you recognise it, this 9x squared minus 17x minus 85 is a quadratic equation. Okay? Quadratic equations normally have an x squared part, they normally have an x part, and they normally have a number part on their own. Now, at the front of the booklet, okay, there was this thing, the quadratic equation. That very elaborate equation at the bottom there is what we're going to use to solve this. And it's a case of just putting the right numbers in the right place. Okay, so I'll copy this on the next slide, but our quadratic equation which is just copied from the front is that. Okay, x equals, it's a minus b. There's this weird little symbol, plus minus. It actually represents both plus and minus. It means we're going to come up with 2 answers for this. One of them is going to come from the fact that we add at a certain point, and the other one's going to come from the fact we subtract at a certain point. I've then got a square root, and inside the square root I've got this b squared minus 4ac, and then I'm dividing everything by 2a. Now you look at that formula and you can obviously spot the fact that there's an a, there's a b, and there's a c. So you've got to know where a and b and c come from. And they all come from the original equation. So it's 9x squared minus 17x minus 85 equals 0. If a quadratic is written in that order, with the squared bit, then the x bit, then the number bit, your a is the number in front of the x squared. So a, in our case, is a 9. The b is always the number in front of the x. Okay, and be careful, it is a minus 17. So make sure you've got the symbol as well. And then the c is always the last number. And again, the symbol is important. So it's a negative 85. Okay, that's my A, B, and C. What we're going to try and do then is put that into the equation. Now you'll get your marks to start with by just, without even having to do the calculator part, by just putting those numbers into the formula in the right place. So the idea, we can try and write this with these numbers in. So x equals, now it's a minus b. If b is minus 17, you get a minus 17 to start with. Okay, so we'll get a double negative to start with. We've then got this weird plus minus, okay, and at some point we'll split that into 2 different questions. Big square root, I'm just going to write everything down. We've got a bracket, minus 17 squared, that's my b squared. Take away 4 times a, which is 9, times c, which is minus 85. I'm just going to put them in a couple of brackets just so I kind of highlight and group them together in the right part. And then all of this is divided by 2a. So 2 times 9. Okay, now it's going to be a case of actually trying to work out most of that. So I've got some of the marks already. I just need to try and get the last mark for the actual answers. So next to it, we're just going to write a much simplified version of that. Minus 17. Don't forget, two negatives, if they're right next to each other, two minuses make a plus. So that first number is actually a normal 17. The two minuses have kind of cancelled each other out. I've then got a plus minus, and then I've got this square root. So what I need to work out is this minus 17 squared. So with your calculator, be careful, open up a bracket, and make sure you hit the minus button. So for me, it's this minus over here. Sorry, there's number 4. Open the bracket. Make sure it's the minus. Some of you have got like a plus minus at the bottom of your calculator. So I want minus 17. Close the bracket, and then I want to square it. So I want to make sure that I do have the minus 17 in its bracket. That should then give me 289. Take away. And I've got this 4 times 9 times minus 85. So again, 4 times 9 times minus 85. Make sure you hit minus, don't hit subtract. Some calculators won't allow you to do that. Equals this number, minus 3060. All divided by 2 9s, which is 18. Okay. Now again, inside that square root, there's a minus minus. So there's another opportunity here for this to turn into a plus. Okay, try and squeeze it just down here. So I've got 17 plus minus the square root. And what I want to do now is the 289 add 3060. And 3349. Okay, and then all of that is divided by 18. So I've really just kind of simplified it to the point now where I can actually use that plus and minus. Okay, so I'm going to write two essential things we're going to work out on the calculator. I've got 17 add the square root of 3349, and I want to divide that by 18. And then I've also got 17 minus square root 3000 divided by 18. This we can now enter onto the calculator. Okay, so carefully, 17 add, hit your square root, 3349. Now before you hit the divided by 18, hit equals. Okay, make sure the calculator does do that top bit first. Hit the equals, then you can divide by 18. If you try and do it in one go, it will do it in the wrong order. There's my answer, 4.15947. Give your solution to 3 significant figures. So we want the first 3 numbers. 4.15, although look at the one after the 5. That's a 9.